if you are at that point where you are breaking out, do understand that there is a character in you that's being built to basically sustain what's coming. So God is an amazing God. You know, the so basically how I started trading was that it was through a friend of mine. So it like I was kind of like in a very dark space in my life, in the sense that things were not really working out in the way that I would rather prefer them to. I dropped out of school because I didn't have money to like further my studies and stuff like that. And then just as I was in that space and I was in that drama, um, a friend of mine, like an ex-friend of mine, came to me and said, bro, why don't you try out this forex thing?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, does it really work? And he said, yeah, man, I mean, this works. This is what I do for a living. And I was like, oh, not for a living,
Yes.
sorry. He said he had done it like on the side, and it's something that obviously worked. So I told myself that, as in, let me just give it a try, because then I trusted the guy. I'm like, okay, sharp, if this guy is the person I think he is, then obviously he will not lead me astray. He won't let me get into an industry that doesn't really work. Because at the time, it was the times of E triple M, like people were into triple M and stuff like that. People believed so much
Yeah.
in pyramid schemes. And knowing myself, I wasn't that kind of guy who believed in pyramid schemes. I would rather have success attained through hard work and discipline. And so it was
Yes.
kind of difficult for me to get onto it, because I knew that people were traders, but trading to me was associated with get rich quick schemes, which were obviously like pyramid schemes at the time. So the guy convinced me, and I believed in him. I trusted him more than the actual game. And I said, okay, if this guy
Mm.
can tell me about it, that means this is something that really works. And that's how I got into it. So from that time, that was back in 2017. So I gave it a try. I did my little bit of research. I started on what is this? IQ options. IQ options is I don't know
Yeah.
what to call it. It's IQ options. It's not forex trading, but it's IQ options. This is binary. Yeah, they called it binary.
Option.
So that's where I started.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months into that, I think like a month or two into IQ options, I came onto forex trading. That's when I knew more about forex. So I started learning baby pips. I trained myself how to, how to understand the markets through the baby pips
Yes.
website. I finished it in like 6
I feel
months,
like we all started at the
six
Baby
months.
Pips
Yeah,
website.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's where I started. So I did it for like I did for like 3 months, and I finished it. And my friend had been doing it for 2 years and he wasn't finished. So from that time, I'd just been doing it ever since. So it's been like a solid 4 years now. So July 2021 marks 4 years in the industry of trading. So that's how I started trading. That's how I started. So with me, it's different with how trading is right now, currently in South Africa, because a lot of traders right now in SA want to trade so they can make money. But my background of trading, the introduction I got into trading, remember that I never had anyone to show me Forex but that guy of mine who told me about it but never really trained me through it. So at the time, my introduction of Forex has always been hard work, knowledge accumulation, get knowledge, get understanding before you can start an account. And even when you do start trading, you'll obviously start with a demo account before you go into a live account. So that's the background I had of Forex in comparison to what's really happening right now. Right now, people would rather fund an account, trade, trial and error until they actually get to a point where they're being profitable. But for me, at the time, it was all about knowledge and information accumulation before you can actually start trading. And I acquired knowledge for 3 solid months before I could start trading. This was intense hours of understanding, not just me, looking at my charts for an hour per day or like for 2 hours, but like this was intense accumulation of knowledge. I'm speaking about plus 20 hours a day of understanding the markets, of the craft in the markets, the chart work, technicals, everything. So I spent like 20 plus hours for 3 months every single day, including Saturdays. Sundays I would go to church. After church, we go back to it
Yes.
to just to understand everything that I needed to understand. And right after understanding everything, then I went into my live account. So I mean, that was obviously even after the demo account I had. So I traded the demo accounts before that, traded demo, and then came onto live accounts. Live accounts, my first account that I had funded was funded by an ex of mine I was dating at the time, who had gotten work. And then she funded my account with $100, and that $100 made $30 profits. I made $30. From that $30, I was then able to see that this thing actually works. I always say this to people that follow me. They know that what convinced me to trade for a lifetime was a single $30 that I had made at that time, which was equivalent to
Mm.
500 rand. So 500 rands convinced me that I'm going to be a forex trader for life, because that time the 500 I had made was literally a lot for a guy who was broke back in the hood and only had dreams. So that's how it happened. That's how I funded my first account. That's how I started, and it's been good. I've been enjoying the industry. I've been enjoying the game. It's just been pure growth. Pure lessons. A lot has been happening, and I've been enjoying the journey ever since. So yeah, that's how it's been. I started trading on my own, and at the time there were not
Yeah.
so many signal providers, and people that
Mm.
provided signals would be bashed for providing signals, especially by the guys I was following. So the guys I used to follow, like
Mm.
Banks, Sean Lee, never really had signals, and those were people that I looked at for inspiration. And it was kind of difficult for me to find someone who was selling signals from South Africa, because at the time there was no one providing signals. It was pure classes and stuff like that, which were led by GoForex, and what else? Like Andile Worldwide. Those were the guys who were in charge at the time. And I never really bought signals. The only time I bought signals was back in 2018, after I had blown my big account. And I bought
Yes.
signals from a guy who was in the States. And the first week of buying his signals was a losing week. And from the time I exited the group and I went back to grind ever since. Never really had any signal provider give me signals for anything, you know? So yeah, it honestly wasn't easy, because of the pressures around Instagram, um, and obviously pressures around the guys that we look at for inspiration. And you would find that this guy makes more money swinging, this guy makes more money scalping, this guy makes more money trading
Mm.
intraday. So it kind of became difficult for me to choose what trading style I'm gonna go for. But um, I had to then, keep on trying on what I knew and do what I knew to do best, to see which kind of style gave me better results. So swinging, I've done that. Day trading, I've done that. Scalping, I've done that. But the one that came out the most for me and my personality was obviously intraday trading, because I hated how swinging was affected by swap overnight, and I just um, you know, couldn't really like be settle for the swap that they would obviously charge if you held trades overnight. And I just decided, now I'm not going to be a swing trader, because it's too much. You'll be holding $10, and the swap over there is $2, so you're holding $8 instead of $10. So I hated swinging because of that. And then secondly, scalping is too quick for me, I cannot be a
Yeah.
scalper. So I can't be on my screen for the whole time. I can't be sitting on the screen for like hours and hours and busy buying and selling the whole time. So it came through trial and error of different strategies and methods for me to find a strategy that suits well with my personality. And I don't think I'm as patient enough to make the figures I make in a day, in a week. And I don't think I'm
Mm.
impatient enough to not wait for the hours I have to wait for to make the money I make, to make it in a shorter space of time. So it really took like trial and error for me to get to a level where
Mm.
I understand exactly what trading method I use, what trading style I use. And also, I think the loss that I had sustained in my career kind of taught me a lot
Mm.
in terms of psychology and stuff like that, discipline and trading styles and all of that. So it really had so much to do with what I turned out to be. And I'm grateful of the losses that I had made because they trained and molded me to be this big person that I am. On the video that I recorded for my channel for like as a third video that I'm dropping, I speak about how that loss made the Dr. Martin that people know. Um, my
Mm.
psychological strength, understanding of the markets, everything I am today was basically built from that loss. Because had I not lost at that particular time, I wouldn't have been where I am today. So it took a couple of mistakes here and there, took a couple of lessons here and there, but what's important is that I was doing something to eventually find my niche and what I'm truly built of. So yeah, it took a very, very, very took a very long time, but was worth it at the end. Yeah. Yeah, I think realistically speaking, we need to come to a realization that South Africa is one of the not so doing well countries in the globe. So we're not a rich country.
Yes.
We're not a rich state and region in the parts of the world. So means of living are too high. You know what I mean? So we don't expect people to have unrealistic figures to start making big figures. And how that has affected us is that we've gotten to a space and a stage where people don't appreciate the little they make because they want to make big figures. And that's where the problem starts. For me, I'm a guy who believes in the impossible. The word impossible doesn't exist in my vocab because I believe that
Yes.
even the impossible are a possibility. So people don't have money. We are being realistic. People don't have money.
Yes.
People have very small amounts to trade with. I mean, for the mere fact that you want to start trading, that means you need extra income into your life or you need to make a living out of it. Like myself, 4 years ago, you would be at a point where you're trying
Mm.
to make a living out of this and you're at a point where you don't have money and are trying to change your life to have money. So you cannot be expected to have bigger amounts to start trading because then that's unrealistic to your realities at the time.
Mm.
Even when
Mm.
realistically
Mm.
speaking, it takes money to make money, but if we look at life in general from a larger scope, there's people who don't have the money to start and who have minimal amounts to actually start trading. Now, flip side of things, it is a possibility to make money even when you don't have big money. You are able to make big money even when you don't have big money. And how do you make sure that you do get to a point where you make money? You need to accumulate the skill
Mm.
of making money. I always say this, that if you have full pockets and an empty mind, in a short space of time, your pockets will be empty as well. But if your mind is full and your
It's true.
pockets are empty, soon enough, your pockets will be filled by the riches in your mind. So for me, I believe so much that if people equip themselves with the right kind of information and knowledge, they can be able to take up whatever amount of money they have readily made available for them and build money they don't have. It is a fact, it is a reality that it takes money to make money, but I don't believe in the
Mm.
ideology of saying it takes big money to make big money. You can start making big money even when you don't have big money by the simple fact of you gathering the right kind of knowledge and information to grow money. I know a couple of my friends who've got strategies that help people to grow small accounts, that help people to get to big figures. And there's an account that I had recently traded and was using it as a tester account for my Instagram audience. I literally took the account from 300. grew it to like 4,800 in the space of 2 days. And all that was done just so I can showcase the work that is possible when you have the right kind of information. So people don't invest in the right kind of information for them to be able to do the impossible. People want to take the little money they have to make big amounts with less information. But people need to gather information first so they can get to a point where even the small information they have can be able to eventually build big figures for them. I've seen crazy amounts being built out of small amounts. I've seen big amounts being blown into small amounts. It all depends on the kind of knowledge and information you have acquired with the years. And I'm a big I'm a big believer of fueling your mind with the right kind of information. So I think it doesn't really take up a huge account to start seeing progress in your life. And also people need to kind of define what they want, what their goals are, define stuff that they believe in. Because sometimes you find that people make realistic figures that are according to their lives and exceed and surpass their expectations by wanting to make more figures. And that's where the problem starts. That's the first point that people miss. That they will make money, but even the money they make, they'll feel it's not enough because of someone else on Instagram who's posted bigger figures. But at that particular time, do you really need the big figures that you think you want? You don't need them. I mean, for someone who's living with their parents, who's young, 18, 20, whatever year, and you're making 2,000 rands a day. I mean, why do you think that's small money? Because you saw Dr. Martin closing 50,000 in a day. I mean, that's big money for you because you don't have any kind of responsibilities. You just have yourself and the dreams that you have. And dreams take time. People are not patient enough to see dreams unfolding into bigger things. So for me, I wouldn't say it really requires of you to have bigger amounts to make big money. It takes a simple mindset that's ready to make big figures. And that mindset can only be built by you accumulating the right kind of information and knowledge when you still do have the time to do so. So I don't know. That's what I think. That's what I think. Um, for me, I'm not a percentage risker, but I'm a figurative risker. I cannot risk figures that I cannot afford to lose. I'm not going to risk a percent per trade to make up 5%. I mean, what is 5% of that account going to do for me? I mean, if you fund 10,000 rands, 5% is literally what, $50. If you make $50 in a month, how is your life going to start moving? But if you risk 10,000 rands because you are able to risk 10,000, then the reward from that 10,000 will be greater. If I put in 10,000, I'm ideally looking at making nothing less than 30,000, like 30, 50,000 or more than that. Um, that's my daily kind of trading. If I put in 10,000, I'm looking at making 30 to 50,000 or even more. So I cannot say I'm gonna put in 10,000 and make 50% or like 5% of the amount I put in. I'm not a percentage trader. I'm a figurative trader. So what I then did is that I funded an amount that people can easily spend. If you go out today, you will find that you spend more than 400 rands. If you leave the house right now, for me, I know if I leave the house, I'll definitely spend way more than 400 bucks. So that's money I'm okay with losing. That's how much I'm willing to risk. So when I put in that 400 into that account, that's money I'm willing to easily let go to make money I don't have. Meaning that I will make sure that that 400 goes and works for me and creates figures I don't have because I'm okay with losing the 400. Meaning that even if I blow 100% of the account, that's how much I was willing to risk. This is not recorded. This is an unrecorded method of risk management that we have to kind of record. Hopefully, if I do write a book, I'm going to speak about that as well. That it's okay to risk an account you are willing to lose, and don't look at it from percentage perspectives. Look at it from a point of view risking money you are willing to lose to make money you don't have. And how that can work for you is that you need to make sure that you have the right kind of understanding of the markets so that when you do come into the markets, you will be able to make amounts and figures you don't have. You know what I mean? So for me, I did kind of look at it from that perspective to say, okay, this is small money that was sitting there from my rebates from JP Markets. And then I decided that, okay, let me actually record not from JP, from Veracity, that let me record my process of me growing this account just so I can show the guy who's sitting at home and can only afford $1,000 to fund, and show them that it's possible to grow a small amount to actually big amounts. Because for someone who can afford to risk 400 and has now 3,800 in the account, that's someone who needs that 3,000. That's enough for you to actually say, I've actually worked for the week. If you can afford to risk 500 and cannot go beyond 500, and you have made 3,800 from the 500, that's so much growth. That's a lot of difference from what you would have afforded at the time. So I did follow that kind of perspective to say, this is money I'm willing to risk. And so I'm going to put in this money to make up money that I don't have, which would be realistic to someone who can only just afford 400 rands to risk. So that's how I did it. That's how I did it. I looked at it from that perspective. How I can easily avoid that is withdrawing everything that the market has given me. Why am I saying this? It is natural for people to be greedy. How do you see this? When you were a kid, you would be given like, 5 sweets on each hand. And if they show you 10 more sweets, you want to go for the 10 more sweets that you see in front of you until you eventually drop what you have in your hands. That's how the mind works. Like, when you see that you've got something given to you and that there's more that you could attain, you let go of what you have in attempts of having what you see in front of you. And the only way to avoid that is if you take the 10 sweets that they've given you, put them into your pockets, and open your arms again to get more sweets that you see in front of you. So what I mean by that is that people must get to a point where they understand that if the market gives you money, it is not yours until it actually gets to your bank account, not even your trading account. So every single time I would trade and I would make profits, I literally withdraw everything that I have made, mainly because I understand that whatever amounts that are there in that trading account that I've made from the deposit that I put in are not mine if I don't even take out the money to my bank account. So that's how you avoid greed. That's how you eliminate that, because it's natural for you to want to make more, even when you have actually been given enough. It is natural. And the only way to eliminate greed is by you taking what is yours, take it home until you get to a point where you don't have anything to risk further than what you have made, but for you to deposit again amounts again you are willing to lose, so that you don't work back and forth. Because a lot of people move in circles, a lot of people round in circles, a lot of people move in the same space and same direction, because we don't take what the market gives us home. If you start taking what the market gives you home, then you can see what the markets can do for you, because it's going to keep on giving and giving and giving and giving. And as it's giving, you keep on taking and taking and taking. And that's when you start seeing your life change. That's when you begin to see your life change. That's when you'll see profits coming in. That's when you'll be a profitable trader, because you're able to take up whatever amounts the market gives you and you take them home, instead of you keeping the money into account and hoping that you make more money. That's the same mistake I made in 2018 when the market gave me $149,000, which was equivalent to 2.1 million. And I saw opportunities of me to make more money. And then I came in with more risk and with hopes of making more money, and then I was back at ground zero. So from that experience, I got to learn that whatever the market gives you, be content enough to accept it and take it home. And that's how you eliminate greed. That's the only way, because you're going against the natural thing of being greedy by you trying to not be greedy in the markets, which is very difficult. There's certain things that we are born with naturally, that when we will try to go against them, it's going to be very difficult for us to overcome them, because we have gotten to a space and a level of being, like, I don't know how I can put this. Like, we want to be above nature. We want to be above creation. We want to be above what we were originally created to be. And that is a difficult thing for you to overcome greed, because greed is a natural process in every single human being. So the minute you try to go against greed, you're going against nature, and it's difficult to live a life that goes beyond and against nature. So the only way to eliminate that is by substituting discipline in the space of greed, so that you don't have to deal with you fighting greed. by you being disciplined. I don't know if I make sense. So by you being disciplined
Yes,
enough,
it
you
does.
are substituting greed with discipline, and you are then able to remain disciplined even in situations that requires of you to be greedy. So that's how I would look at it. That's how I would, advise anyone who struggles from greed to say you're going through the natural process of greed, and that's a very difficult process. And the only way to eliminate that is by you putting in factors and strategies in place for you to remain consistent. Which one of them has to be discipline? So, realistically speaking, I would say currencies are the best to start with because currencies are mainly,
Yes.
instruments that you can use to basically understand the technical skill set to make sure that you've got the technical abilities to build up a trade, the confidence to believe in your technicals, the confidence to know exactly that if the market does this, this is what's going to happen. And all that can now be translated into another market, which is a market of indices. So the stock market is a whole different market from the forex markets. The forex markets are very controlled and are very disciplined. The forex markets are very soft and very smooth, allows for you to follow your technical tricks and tools and checklists and stuff like that in building a trade, and you are able to be consistent and successful from trading currencies. What that will do to you is that it will give you the confidence to believe first in yourself, because in forex the one thing that will make you successful that people don't really know is you believing in yourself and the abilities you have into trading. So the minute you start believing in yourself and the minute you know exactly what you're doing, that helps you be a consistent trader by default. You believe in yourself. You execute trades that you see. Every single opportunity that you will spot, you will execute because you believe so much in yourself. So the minute you have that confidence from currencies, you can translate that into the markets of indices. Now, because this market is a bit faster than the other markets, it moves a whole
Yeah.
lot quicker than the forex markets, but also uses the same kind of structural perspectives, and that can now be your confidence of taking positions even in the indices market. So for me, I started with technicals. I built my confidence from there. I came onto the stock market with the confidence I had built from the currency market. So there is no trade that I cannot take in this kind of market and not have faith in it, because I've seen these kind of moves
Mhm.
happen from the currency market, and now I'm just really playing around with different elements even in the specific space. So I would advise people to start from currencies, because currencies are a whole lot more light, whole lot more slow, and they can
Yeah.
really,
Yes.
sharpen your understanding of the markets and give you the confidence to be able to trade in this very fast and volatile market. Yeah. So, one thing that I will tell you for sure is that I have had uh, most of those days before. I've been at a point where I felt like it's not worth it. I gave up my architectural degree
Yeah.
just to be a trader. I've been at a point where I've
Yes.
I've I've even wondered if this market really works or not. Is this an illusion? Like, do people really make it in this
Yeah.
market? Am I the only person who's not making it? Why am I not making it? Why is it like this and that? Like, that's a moment of breaking. That's a breaking moment. That's a breaking moment. If I can really, if I can really say that, that's a breaking moment. And breaking moments are most often than not breakthrough moments disguised in a form of breaking. And people don't really understand that at that moment of you breaking out, that's when God wants to break you through. So as you are breaking out, God is preparing your breakthrough as you are breaking out. So people don't understand these things, and it takes a higher power for you to understand the process of success. Remember that I said this on a live that I'd hosted, that we are not just fighting for us to reach our goals and dreams, but we are fighting generational
Yes.
struggles that we have in our families. There's people who just don't know wealth in their families. There's people who've never had a successful individual in their families. And you are fighting all these energies, all these spirits, all these curses, all these pasts. And as you are trying to fight them, there will be a resistance point that you will hit. I'll call that a threshold frequency. That's what I call it. Like, you will get to a threshold and you cannot go beyond that. The minute you start stepping beyond your threshold, then you start messing up and you go back to ground zero. Until you pray for strength to go beyond that ceiling and that roof that you have, that is when you'll begin to actually start seeing yourself moving in power and moving in miracles. Why? Because you have gotten to understand exactly who you are. So people need to understand that it's not an easy thing. You can never build success easily. There is no successful individual who doesn't have a story to tell. Every person who is successful today has a story to tell, and like multiple stories are being built as you are going through what you are going through. When you are blowing accounts, when you are getting frustrated, when it's not working out, when you feel as if you want to give in the towel, when you feel as if this is the moment where you don't want to move on again, just understand that there's a story that's being built, and God is building who you are truly meant to become. And as you are going through that process, and if you do go beyond it, that's when you start walking in a season of breakthrough. So as you are breaking out, God is preparing you for a breakthrough. And that's what you need to understand, that even as you are breaking out, have enough strength to walk through the valley of the shadow of death and trust that the rod of the Lord and his staff, they comfort you, because God will never ever give you a desire and ignite a desire in you that you're going to go into and he will not sustain. So when you go through those moments, go through the moments understanding that there is a character in you that's being built that will sustain who you are supposed to be in the future. I wouldn't have been who I am today if it wasn't for the losses I went through. I wouldn't have been who I am today if it wasn't for the lessons I had to take even in my lowest points. I wouldn't have been who I am today if I never got to experience the amount of losses I experienced. So me experiencing the losses I had experienced in the past builds the character and the strength I have today. So I'm not just being profitable now, but my profitability disposal was being trained when I was losing. I was being trained to learn how to manage money when it comes in when I was losing. I was being trained to know how to be consistent when I was losing. So if you are at that point where you are breaking out, do understand that there is a character in you that's being built to basically sustain what's coming. So God is an amazing God. You know, the reason why I love God so much and I'm not ashamed of him is because I've seen God come through so much for me, and I cannot help but to brag about his goodness. You know what I mean? I cannot help but brag about it because I've seen how God is able to take a nobody and create a somebody out of nobody. So I cannot keep quiet. I cannot keep my mouth shut. So at that point where I was breaking through, I was breaking out. That's the process in which God was training me. That's the process in which God was building a strong character in me. That's when I was being prepared for what I have right now. And God took me through that most painful process of blowing such big amounts, of getting to a point where you afforded everything and to a point of affording nothing. But all of that was training and preparation for me to get to where I am. So God works in crazy ways. People must just learn to be okay with the process God is putting them through, and allow God to work through them, allow God to work in them, just so they are able to now enjoy the benefits of being persistent. Patience is built in very low moments. You can never be patient when things are okay, and you need patience to trade. You can never be strong enough until being strong is the only option you have left. You know what I mean? So sometimes you are taken to situations and spaces in your life where you are weakened, and that weak space in your life forces you to be strong. And that's the only space that will train you to be strong enough. So all these things that God is taking you through, he's taking you through those moments just so you can be sustained at a later stage and never die out with the wind. The reason why we are standing strongly and firmly and not dying out is because we were trained in very dark moments. So hang in there as you are blowing accounts, hang in there as you are trying to understand things, hang in there as you are trying to crack the code, hang in there. There is a strong character in you that's being built. And in the meantime, do something that will show God that you really want it, because God wants to work in your life, but he also needs you to show him that you really want it by you putting in the hours, by you putting in the effort, by you doing anything and everything that requires of you to get to that level. And one day, guys, just one day, that one single day will be a day where you will crack it. And once you crack it, you will never ever lose in your whole life. You will just know that you have gotten to the season of breakthrough, the season of breakthrough. I truly appreciate the invite, the invitation to come and be on this live. I enjoyed myself. All people really got to learn and benefit from the stuff that we spoke about. But I'm very much humbled to give back as much knowledge and information as I can possibly do. And you know, we can only pray for God to bless everyone that is on this live, and hope that everyone truly makes it and not fake it, because it is a possibility and we all get to a point where forex starts paying us well, and that can only happen if we put in the work. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.